Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cremonis Games. Today, we are doing something a little different, and we are talking about an astral projection experience that I've had. I have a hard time not going off on tangents, so for today's video, I wrote a script to keep me on task. Due to this, I will only be focusing on one specific experience. I had astral projection, specifically my most vivid experience. Um, I just want to say I'm sorry. This video is a little bit different than I'm used to, so I apologize for any unprofessional or newbie kind of mistakes I make while sharing this story. I'm playing Call of Duty in the background. This is me recording over on post, so I won't be reacting to the video. I've yet to decide if I want to put the sound in the background, but if you guys have any tweaks or things to comment, let me know in the comments how I can do better next time, because I can definitely do story times. I would love doing it playing over games, and I just want to know how I can do it better, pretty much. So without further ado, let's get right in the video. I would like to make it abundantly clear that I am not an expert in this field. I'm simply someone who has experienced astral projection. Each individual has their own beliefs and experiences, and I can only tell you my personal experiences, so take that into account when watching this video. We are each individually on our own spiritual journey, and everything I'm about to tell you is my account of what I've experienced so far. Now, the first thing you may be wondering is, what is astral projection? This is a good question. I'm going to try my best to answer it what it is to me. I can't give you the best definition because I'm not a crazy, godly, spiritual guy. I just know what I know, right? So I could be wrong. Take that into account. This is just me, my unprofessional experience of it. Astral projection is an out of a body experience, or OBE for short. It's very common. People have a lot of experiences with them, but astral projection is a type of that. So it's an OBE where your astral and physical bodies separate for a period of time. I do not want to get into specific details of all of this, as the point of this video is not to get technical, but to share a simple story that I've had. Just a preface to help you guys understand more of what I'm talking about. For those who don't know, who aren't necessarily versed in this, people might see this who aren't versed in astral projection. They may wonder what it is. This is not an introductory video. I want to make that abundantly clear. If you want to learn more about it, this is not the video to teach you about astral projection and what it is. This is just to share a story. So go to another YouTube channel or video to explain what it is if you don't understand. Keep watching all the way through. Obviously, don't pause and leave. I would appreciate. Well, you can. It's probably better, but I appreciate if you watch all the way through or came back to the video if you wanted to. So I would like to start my story way back to around freshman year of high school, around 2015. I do not have exact dates, so I would just say what my memory remembers best, which may or may not be accurate, but it's irrelevant to the story. It's honestly not that deep. It's just trying to give you more details. Anyways, I was a freshman in high school. Due to a variety of factors, I began to question my faith in God. My family is Catholic, which is a form of Christianity, if you guys don't know what Catholicism is. I used to be a Christian, just Catholic, and as such, I never really sought out or questioned who God was or what I truly believed in. Looking back on it now, high school was a very important period of time where I began to figure out who I was and started discovering my true self. So I began to question my faith, and at the time I was taking many religious courses as I attended a private Catholic school. And I started learning more and more about the religions of the world, and I decided that I was going to find God and delve into the spiritual world. This was not just out of the blue, however, as my whole life I have always had vivid dreams and experienced multiple different events I would consider to be beyond this world in my lifetime, all of which are stories for another day. I had already dabbled with lucid dreaming and messing around in my dreams previously, so I decided the next course of action would be to see about all of the fuss of astral projection. To be quite honest, I was very skeptical of astral projection. I believed in it like I believe in magic and other mystical things. I had no proof, but I just kind of hoped it existed and thought it would be cool if it did. But I decided to take it from an open-minded but skeptical point of view. I watched a lot of videos on that topic, tips, tricks, and stories. Another YouTuber that helped me a lot is Vishuddha Das, or Koi Fresco, as he used to be known as. I will spell that out in case you guys want to look him up. Vishudda space Das. Vishuddha Das. He's a really great YouTuber. He has very helpful videos, so check him out. I will link his channel in the description below. He was instrumental in me finding out more about the subject and spirituality in general. He wasn't the only YouTuber I looked up. I would recommend you look up others and get more experiences to get more understanding, but he's a great YouTuber. I like watching his videos a lot. Okay, so I began to practice what I was reading online using many different tactics. I did it every night before bed, which is probably the most inefficient way, but the best way for me, as I did not have a lot of time, and I went to bed late and was cranky when I get up and I forget everything. So I wasn't gonna. The wake up trick that everyone talks about is not quite gonna work for me personally. Although it is probably the best way to astral project for many reasons. So if you're a beginner, look up search out for the tip where you wake up in the middle of sleep and you go back to sleep, trying to astral project. That's probably the best course of action. If you guys are confused as to what I'm talking about, I would watch a few videos on ways to astral project. I won't go into detail in this vid, but doing a bit of research may help clear up confusion as to what I'm talking about. I apologize if I'm confusing you. If you would like to skip directly to the story, I will try and timestamp when I start the description, or make a chapter or something if I can figure out what that is. New to YouTube still. So every night before I went to bed, I would try and astral project. I would envision, lay there not moving, and breathe. The furthest I would ever get is the vibrational stage. I would feel my whole body humming, vibrating, and the likes. It wouldn't just be my body. It'd be my head, my mind, and my spirit. For any of you out there watching this or who do not believe in astral projection, I implore you to try. If you earnestly try, you will reach the vibrational stage. It will happen, I promise you. You will feel the vibrations, because of anything, if you don't believe in astral projection, you will definitely still feel the vibrations. That's scientifically proven, I'm pretty sure. And it's happened to me. I know what it feels like. And you'll get there. I promise you. For anybody who's aspiring to astral project, I hope the vibrational stage will help you know that you can still make it there. And then you're just a lot of other stuff. I'm not going to get into that. But honestly, the first time I ever reached that, I realized it wasn't just a hoax. It really exists, because the vibrational stage was just mind-blowing to me. Anyways, time. Move forwards about a year, which would be sophomore or junior year. I'm pretty sure it was sophomore year. And I would have had my first astral projection experience. I won't go into detail, but this was amazing. Everything felt so real, so amazing. It was different than anything I've ever experienced before in my life, especially after all the lucid dreaming and dream experimenting that I have done in the past. I want to clarify that I have never done drugs. At this point, I was super anti-drug anyways, so there was no way I was tripping or seeing things. This experience pushed me to keep trying, as well as affirmed my belief that it was possible and that I can do it. That me personally, Xavier Vaughn, can do it. Even after a whole year, it was crazy. It took me a year to get there, and I was starting to lose belief, but it happened and opened my mind. Like, I had committed to doing this as I wanted it to exist. So, after a year of it not happening, I was starting to lose faith. So anybody who's struggling or taking a long time, just hang in there. Just hang in there. It'll happen, and it'll be amazing. Skip forward about another year with a few other experiences in the meantime, and we reach the topic that this video is about, my most vivid astral projection experience. I would like to preface this story by saying, if you are of the faint of heart, please do not listen. I hope to have other more happy videos about my experiences in the future. Please watch any of those if you do not want to hear about the negative side of this world. And anybody who is a prospecting astral projector, please do not let my one negative experience convince or detract you in any way from doing it. It is a great experience, and I highly recommend trying it. Okay, now let's get deep into what you all clicked on this video for, what all this exposition has led to. It was the summer of either my sophomore or junior year in high school. Every year, my extended family hosts a reunion, so many people get together and celebrate. It is a good time, and we usually go to a different state depending on which family is hosting it that year. I can't quite remember who hosted it that year, but what I do know is I was in a room with my brother in the hotel. This night was like any other. I was going to sleep and decided to try astral projecting. I did this every night because of the steps to astral project are very relaxing and usually put me to sleep anyways. So it's just like going to sleep is that easy. My brother was in the room and he was breathing decently loud, which is usually not ideal for astral projection, as you usually want a more quiet environment and no one in the room with you and you by yourself, especially starting out. My focus was on his breathing instead of blocking out all sound. Although somehow this was not a problem, as quickly all the noise began to slip away as my consciousness began to slowly drift upwards, away from my body. Now, I have experienced this feeling a handful of times before, but the feeling of drifting out of your body is something else. The only difference this time is the further I drifted upwards, the more I became increasingly aware of the shadowy figure in the curtains next to my bed. I would like to take a moment to describe the room layout. I know, I'm cutting away from all the action, but this will help you envision what went down. Before the astral projection occurred, I do not remember the layout of the living room before the room as vividly, but the room is clear in my mind. Immediately, walking into the room from the living room, to the right is a bathroom that takes a chunk of the room out and sort of artificially creates a hallway entering the room about as wide as the door leading into the living room area. At the end of the tiny hallway, the room opens up. There are two beds, one furthest from the hallway and one right next to the mini hallway. Between the beds, there's a nightstand, which directly across is a flat-screen TV. Both beds have a tiny gap between the bed and the wall they are closest to. On the wall, on the wall of each bed contains the following. The closest bed to the mini hallway, directly to the right, contains a light switch. And the bed furthest the hallway contains a window overlooking the parking lot, which contains long blinds that reach from the top of the room to the floor for privacy reasons. I was laying on the bed that was furthest from the hallway, right next to the blinds. So seeing the shadowy figure in the blinds to my right next to me, with the only space between us being a tiny amount of space between the bed and the wall, was pretty freaky. In my research, I have heard of the Shadow Man. Usually he shows up frequently in sleep paralysis, which I've never experienced. I have a lot of sleep paralysis, guys, but I've never seen him before. He's the only entity I can imagine when I remember the events of what happened. I do not remember a clear picture of the Shadow Man, as he was literally made of shadows. But I believe he was wearing a long billowing cloak and a hat. I began to freak out and feel a sinister vibe or aura from him as he rose higher and higher, almost touching the ceiling with his height. Usually, in astral projection, when you start to freak out, you shoot back into your body and wake up, something I was all too familiar with. This did not happen, nor was I able to move. I was frozen in fear, or possibly due to the power of this figure. I was confused as I was under the impression that only I had control of my body during astral projection. Nothing could harm or control me. I was never harmed in this experience, but I was most definitely not in control. The reason I explained the room so in depth was so that you were able to picture the events that happened next. I will do a quick recap since the perspective I shared was from the hallway last time. I am laying on the far right bed in the room. My brother is supposed to be to the left, sleeping with the nightstand between us. And directly across from that nightstand is a TV. The TV is not in front of any beds. To my right, there are curtains and a window, and a small space between the bed and the wall. To my left is the nightstand and another bed, which also has a space, and a light switch is on that wall at the foot of the leftmost bed. I'm reiterating so you guys can picture it. I don't know if I'm doing a good job, but let me know in the comments below if you need more explanation as to what the room looks like. At the end of the wall, which opens up to a mini hallway and a bathroom. The room is not very big, about as wide as, twin queen bed, or about as wide as 2 queen beds and a nightstand. Snapping back to my perspective, I was just immediately beginning to realize I had no control over my body, and the sinister nature of the shadow man in the curtains right next to me. When all of a sudden, suspense. I was moved a bed over, the width of a bed. The nightstand was supposed to be was another bed. In front of the bed was a TV, a flat screen TV to be more specific. In front of the TV, and the TV was filled with static, right? You guys know the TV static that happens on old TVs, and flashing numbers. For reference, the TV was supposed to be off. It was off at night. I turned it off. Should have been going. I knew immediately what the Shadow Man wanted. He wanted me to read him the numbers that were flashing by. He never said this, and I'm not sure why that, of all things, was what I was meant to do. But I was sure of it. The intent filled my head, and as soon as I made it clear I couldn't read it, I was again moved over a bed. And lo and behold, another TV. This time the numbers were more clear, but still illegible. I want to remind you, the room only contained one TV in the real world. Hope you guys didn't hear that. I want to remind you, the room only contained one TV in the real world. Again, same thing. Moved over, again, mechanically like I was a grocery item on a cashier register. I had no control of my body, but the further away from him I got, the more in control I seemed to be. The next TV hit, and suddenly, I could read a string of constantly changing numbers. There were blurry, illegible numbers all around, but this red string of numbers I could clearly see right in the middle of the TV, directly in the middle, as if put there for some unknown purpose. As if I was meant to see this. As if it was put there in red, specifically so there was no way I would miss these numbers. To this day, I do not remember a single number from that TV, because immediately when they appeared, I ignored them and thought with all my might that they didn't exist. I did not know how me and the Shadow Man were communicating, but I tried to get him to think this TV was like any other. And it somehow ended up convincing him, as I just went on the next TV, like all the rest, and the numbers were gone. I do not remember how many TVs I went through after that, but what I do know is that eventually I reached the end of the room, where my brother in his bed was supposed to be, in the area with the light switch. I could now freely move my body again, and I put 2 and 2 together, that the light switch would drive out the Shadow Man. So I got up and flicked the light switch on the left side of the wall. Remember that was by the bed. And nothing. The lights did not turn on because it wasn't real. We're in the astral realm, so it wasn't an actual light switch being flicked. Then, from far away, in the tiny hallway, which was supposed to be directly next to the light switch, and it kind of was, just stretched out and more spacious like the rest of the room. Then, from far away, in the tiny hallway, which was supposed to be directly next to the light switch, and it kind of was, just stretched out and more spacious like the rest of the room, I saw a mother and a daughter. I do not clearly remember the mother, but I do remember the daughter. I believe they're both in cloaks. The best description I could give of the daughter is like Kid Gamora in Avengers Infinity War. If you guys haven't seen Kid Gamora, I'll try to leave a photo of her in the video. I don't know if I could do that, if I could copyright strike. Probably not, but I'll show you what she looks like. I do not remember the kid's face, and from my very slight recollection, I do not believe she had one. The kid and her mother seemed to be arguing, the kid looking at me and the mother at the place the shadow man used to be. I do not remember if he was still there, as my perspective at this point was focused solely on the duo in front of me. The thoughts of how much I wanted to get back to my body filled my head. Again, something which usually brings you back immediately did not. Again, something which usually brings you back immediately, but did not this time. The mother was trying to leave, to get out of there, and not be exposed to danger, which I do not blame her for. The kid, however, ran over to me, and when she ran over to me, she buried her head into my stomach, wrapping her arms around me. I was unable to move my arms freely due to my shock at this occurring, and the fact that I could feel her head so clearly, so defined, and so absolutely that I was confused. I have never had this level of feeling before in a dream, or another astral projection, especially the latter. Usually I could not feel the environment, and I just floated around existing. I felt her head almost more than I've ever felt someone in real life before. There was an almost deeper feeling to her existence than just feeling. I did not get much time to analyze, however, as a warmth quickly spread from the center of my stomach, where her head was, the rest of my body, and I woke up. Back in my body. Safe to say, I definitely turned the lights on and was very weary of the curtains after that. I now know that the little green girl saved me, and I am very grateful to her. Her kindness and willingness to help astound me. Safe to say, since that day, I have had troubles astral projecting and have had no significant experiences since then. Safe to say, since that day, I have had troubles astral projecting and have had no significant experiences since then. Not to say I have had none. With that, alright guys, with that, story time. I will end the video here. Thank you guys for watching the video. I know it was long, trust me, I know. But I wanted to tell the story in as much detail as possible so you guys could understand my reality more and try to give you as much clarification as possible. Comment down below if you want any clarification on certain parts. If you'd like to hear another story, or if you know anything else, if you want to know anything else about my experiences. I have a lot more to share, so don't be shy. Also, please leave a like to support the channel. It would go a long way to help me, as well as share this with any of your friends who are into astral projection or like to hear about another's experience. I hope I did not ruin anyone's experience or shied anyone away. This is just one experience, and I've had many other good ones that drown out this bad one. Also, subscribe if you like this kind of content. If I get an influx of new subscribers from this, it would let me know that you guys are interested in, and maybe I will do some more spiritual videos along with my game videos, which I hope you guys like too. My game videos are mostly a channel, but I could definitely get a spiritual too. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in the next video.